Have you ever felt so tired you could barely keep your eyes open, yet when you finally lie down to sleep, rest never comes? Your body is exhausted, your mind is foggy, you've been tired all day, but now, in the quiet darkness, sleep feels impossible. Your thoughts race, your body stays tense, and the harder you try to rest, the more awake you become. If you're watching this at 2 a.m., unable to sleep despite feeling exhausted, if you spent another day dragging yourself through life only to lie awake again tonight, you're not alone. And tonight, you're going to understand why this is happening. Welcome to Soft Light Theory, a place where science meets compassion and healing begins with understanding. I'm here to walk with you through one of the most frustrating experiences of anxiety, being exhausted but unable to sleep. This isn't just about insomnia. This isn't just about being tired. This is about a nervous system caught between two opposing forces, one screaming for rest, the other refusing to let go. And tonight, we're going to gently uncover why this happens, what's really going on inside your brain and body, and how you can begin to break this exhausting cycle. This is part of our series, Emotional Healing and Neuroscience, Gentle Ways to Rewire Your Mind. Before we begin, if you're tired of being tired, if you're searching for answers at 3 a.m., please subscribe to Soft Light Theory. Hit the like button if this video brings you even a moment of understanding, so others trapped in this same exhausting paradox can find their way here too. And I'd love to know, where in the world are you right now, and what time is it? Drop your location in the comments. This community is global, and you're not alone in this. Now, take a breath with me. In slowly, out even slower. Let's begin this journey together, toward understanding, toward compassion, and toward the rest your body has been desperately asking for.
Chapter 1. The Paradox of Exhausted Wakefulness. Your body aches with tiredness. Your eyes are heavy. Yet sleep stays distant, like a shore you can see but cannot reach. Tonight, we begin where exhaustion meets insomnia. In the strange space where your body wants rest, but your mind won't allow it. You've been tired all day. The kind of tired that sevels into your bones, that makes your eyelids heavy during meetings, during conversations, during the quiet afternoon hours when the world feels slow and your body begs for rest. You tell yourself, tonight I'll sleep well. Tonight I'm so exhausted I'll fall asleep the moment my head touches the pillow. But then night arrives. You lie down. You close your eyes. You wait for sleep to come like you've been waiting all day. And it doesn't. Instead, your mind begins to move. Thoughts arrive uninvited. Your body, so heavy with exhaustion just moments ago, now feels restless, alert, uncomfortable in ways you can't quite name. You turn over, you adjust your pillow, you try to force yourself into stillness. But the harder you try to sleep, the more awake you feel. This is the paradox, the cruel contradiction that millions of people experience every night. You are exhausted, and you cannot sleep. Your body wants rest, but something inside you, something deeper, something more ancient, won't allow it. Let's pause here and breathe together. In through your nose, slowly, gently. Out through your mouth, longer, softer. Feel your chest rise and fall. Notice the weight of your body against the surface beneath you. You are here, in this moment, and in this moment, you are safe. But your body might not feel that way, and tonight we're going to understand why. This paradox, tired but unable to sleep, is not unusual. It's not a sign that something is deeply wrong with you. It's not evidence of failure or weakness. It's a signal, a message from your nervous system, a sign that somewhere inside you, the systems designed to regulate rest and wakefulness have become tangled, confused, overwhelmed. And at the heart of this tangle is anxiety. Anxiety doesn't just live in your thoughts. It lives in your body, in your nervous system, in the chemicals that flow through your blood, in the ancient survival mechanisms that have kept humans alive for millennia, but now keep you awake when you most need rest. Let's start with what exhaustion actually is. When you say you're tired, what you're describing is a complex physiological state. Your muscles ache because they've been working, holding tension, staying engaged. Your mind feels foggy because it's been processing, deciding, managing information all day. Inside your brain, a molecule called adenosine has been building up. Adenosine is like a gentle pressure that accumulates throughout your waking hours. The longer you're awake, the more adenosine accumulates, and the more it presses down on your consciousness, creating that heavy, drowsy feeling. This is your body's natural sleep pressure. It's designed to grow stronger throughout the day until, eventually, it becomes irresistible, until sleep is no longer a choice but an inevitability. But here's what anxiety does. It overrides this natural pressure. Even when adenosine has built up, even when your body is physiologically ready for sleep, your nervous system can still keep you awake if it believes, consciously or unconsciously, that it's not safe to rest. Think of your nervous system as a watchful guardian. Its primary job is to keep you alive, to scan for danger, to prepare you to respond to threats, to ensure that you're ready, alert, vigilant when needed. For most of human history, this guardian served you well. If there was danger nearby, a predator, a rival tribe, an unstable environment, falling asleep could mean death. Your ancestors who slept too deeply, who let their guard down too easily, didn't survive to pass on their genes. So evolution built caution into your system. It made your body capable of staying awake even when exhausted, if the situation demanded it. But in the modern world, this system has become confused. Your nervous system can't always tell the difference between real danger and perceived danger, between a genuine threat and the worry spinning in your mind. And so it keeps you awake, not because something is wrong with you, but because something inside you still believes you're not safe enough to rest.
This is the heart of the paradox. Your body is ready for rest. The adenosine has built up. Your muscles are heavy. Your eyes want to close. But your nervous system, that ancient, protective, tireless guardian, is still on alert. It's still scanning, still listening, still waiting for the threat to pass. And until it feels safe, until it receives the signal that danger has subsided, it will not allow you to fall into the vulnerability of sleep. This is why trying harder to sleep often makes it worse, because effort itself is a form of activation. It engages your sympathetic nervous system, the part of you designed for action, for doing, for solving problems. But sleep cannot be solved. It cannot be achieved through effort. It can only be allowed. And allowing requires safety, ease, the quiet confidence that nothing bad will happen if you let go. Here's what makes this even more complicated. The exhaustion you feel during the day isn't just physical tiredness. It's not just from lack of sleep the night before. It's also nervous system fatigue. When you live with anxiety, your body is working constantly. Even when you're sitting still, even when you're trying to rest, your nervous system is active. It's monitoring threats. It's staying vigilant. It's holding tension in your muscles, scanning your environment, preparing for dangers that may never come. This invisible work is exhausting. It drains your energy in ways that aren't obvious. And by the time night arrives, you're not just tired from the day's activities, you're tired from the constant, invisible labor of staying on guard. But that same vigilance that exhausts you during the day is the same force that keeps you awake at night. Your body is too tired to function well, but too activated to rest. This is the cruel efficiency of chronic anxiety. It traps you in a state where you're always exhausted, but never truly rested. Breathe with me again, slowly, gently. In through your nose. Let the air fill your lungs completely. Out through your mouth. Let the breath carry away what you don't need to hold. Notice if there's tension anywhere in your body, your jaw, your shoulders, your belly. You don't have to fix it, just notice it, acknowledge it. This tension is part of the story we're exploring together. So when you lie awake at night, exhausted but unable to sleep, know this: you are not broken. Your body is not betraying you. Your mind is not failing you. You are caught in a paradox, a conflict between two essential systems, one that knows you need rest and one that believes you cannot afford it. Your body is tired because it has been working too hard for too long, carrying the invisible weight of vigilance, of worry, of preparing for threats that may never arrive. And your mind won't let you sleep because some part of you, ancient, protective, deeply afraid, still doesn't trust that it's safe to let go. This is not your fault. This is not weakness. This is your nervous system doing what it was designed to do, but in a world it was never designed for. And understanding this, truly understanding it, is the first step toward untangling the knot. Because once you know why you're tired but can't sleep, you can begin to address not just the symptom, but the deeper patterns beneath it. And those patterns begin with two forces inside you, locked in a quiet battle, one trying to keep you awake, and one trying to let you rest.
Chapter 2. The Two Systems Fighting for Control. Inside you, two forces wage a quiet war. One whispers, "Rest." The other shouts, "Stay alert." Your sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems, meant to work in harmony, are stuck in disagreement. Let's meet these two guardians and understand why they can't agree on when it's safe to sleep. Imagine two people trying to drive the same car. One presses the accelerator, insisting you need to move faster, stay ready, keep going. The other presses the brake, saying it's time to slow down, to stop, to rest. Both have good intentions. Both are trying to help you. But when they work against each other, the car lurches forward and backward, never quite moving smoothly, never quite stopping completely. This is what's happening inside you when you're exhausted but can't sleep. Two systems, both essential, both designed to keep you alive, are fighting for control. And until they can agree, rest remains impossible. Let's meet these two forces. The first is your sympathetic nervous system. This is the accelerator, the activator, the part of you that responds to challenge, to demand, to perceived danger. When the sympathetic system engages, your body shifts into a state of readiness. Your heart beats faster, your breath quickens, your pupils dilate to take in more light. Blood flows away from your digestive system and toward your muscles, preparing you to move, to act, to respond. This is the system that kept your ancestors alive, the system that said, "Run from the predator, fight the rival, stay alert in the storm." It's not designed for calm, it's designed for survival. The second force is your parasympathetic nervous system. This is the brake, the rest and digest system, the part of you that activates when danger passes and safety returns. When the parasympathetic system engages, everything slows. Your heart rate drops, your breathing deepens, blood returns to your digestive organs, your muscles soften, your mind quiets. This is the system that says, it's safe now, you can rest, you can heal, you can let go. In a healthy, balanced nervous system, these two forces work together like dancers: activation when needed, rest when safe, back and forth, responding to the rhythm of your day. But when anxiety becomes chronic, this balance breaks down. Here's what happens. Your sympathetic nervous system, designed to activate in moments of acute danger, becomes stuck in the on position. It's like a smoke alarm that never stops ringing, even when the fire is out, even when there's no smoke. It just keeps sounding over and over, insisting that something is wrong. And when the sympathetic system stays active, it doesn't matter how tired you are. It doesn't matter how much adenosine has built up in your brain. It doesn't matter that your body desperately needs sleep, because to your nervous system, staying awake is a matter of survival. Your parasympathetic system is trying to help. It's whispering, slow down, rest, it's safe now. But the sympathetic system is louder. It's shouting, no, stay alert, watch, wait, we can't afford to let our guard down. And so you lie there, caught between these two forces, your body pulled in opposite directions, exhausted but unable to surrender. Let's go deeper into why this happens. Your sympathetic nervous system responds not just to real threats, but to perceived threats. And in the modern world, perceived threats are everywhere. The email you didn't send, the conversation you replayed in your mind, the deadline looming tomorrow, the fear of what might go wrong, the uncertainty of the future. None of these are predators, none of them require you to run or fight, but to your sympathetic nervous system, they feel just as urgent, just as dangerous. And so it activates, it keeps you ready, it refuses to let you rest, because in its ancient logic, rest means vulnerability. The problem is, these modern threats never fully resolve. They linger, they multiply, they follow you from day into night. And your sympathetic system, faithful guardian that it is, stays on duty, stays vigilant, stays activated. Meanwhile, your parasympathetic system can't gain ground. It tries to slow your heart, to deepen your breath, to signal that it's safe to sleep. But it's overpowered, overridden, unable to do its job because the sympathetic system won't step aside. There's a key player in this struggle that we need to understand: the vagus nerve. This is the longest nerve in your autonomic nervous system. It travels from your brainstem down through your body, connecting your brain to your heart, your lungs, your digestive system, and more. The vagus nerve is like a messenger, carrying signals between your brain and your body, and it plays a crucial role in activating your parasympathetic nervous system, in helping you calm down, rest, and recover. When your vagus nerve is functioning well, it acts like a gentle hand on your nervous system, soothing the activation, bringing you back to baseline. But when stress is chronic, when anxiety is constant, the vagus nerve can become less effective. Its ability to calm your system weakens. It's like a messenger trying to deliver a message of peace in the middle of a war zone. The message gets lost in the noise. This is called low vagal tone, and it's one reason why some people struggle more than others to shift from wakefulness to sleep. Their parasympathetic system isn't broken, it's just overwhelmed, outmatched, unable to compete with the relentless activation of the sympathetic system. Breathe with me now. Let's try to wake up that vagus nerve, to give your parasympathetic system a little help. In through your nose, slowly, deeply. Fill your lungs completely. Hold for just a moment. Out through your mouth, even slower than the inhale. Let the breath be long, soft, complete.
This kind of breathing, slow, deep, with a longer exhale, is one of the most powerful ways to activate your parasympathetic nervous system. It sends a signal through your vagus nerve to your brain. We're safe. we can slow down, we can rest. Your sympathetic system might not believe it immediately. It might keep pressing the accelerator, but with each slow breath, the message becomes clearer. And slowly, gradually, the brake begins to engage. So when you lie in bed, exhausted but unable to sleep, what you're experiencing is this internal conflict. One system saying, "Sleep now, you need this, your body is ready." The other system saying, "No, not yet, it's not safe, stay awake, stay ready." And you, caught in the middle, feeling the exhaustion of one and the activation of the other, unable to surrender to either. This is why simply telling yourself to relax doesn't work, why trying to force sleep only makes it worse, why all the logic in the world can't override what your nervous system believes to be true. Because this isn't happening in your thinking brain, it's happening in your autonomic nervous system, the part of you that operates below consciousness, responding to signals you can't consciously control. But here's what you need to know. This conflict is not permanent. Your nervous system can learn, it can adapt, it can be retrained to recognize safety, to trust rest, to allow the parasympathetic system to do its job. It takes time, it takes patience, it takes consistent signals that say, it's okay to let go. Nothing bad will happen if you rest. But it is possible. And the first step is understanding that you're not fighting yourself. You're not weak or broken. You're experiencing a dysregulation, a mismatch between what your body needs and what your nervous system believes is safe. Your sympathetic system is doing what it was designed to do, protect you. It's just doing it too much, too often, in situations where protection is no longer needed. And your parasympathetic system is trying to help. It's just being overpowered by a louder, more persistent voice. So tonight, as you rest, know this. The battle inside you is real. The two systems pulling in opposite directions are both trying to serve you, both trying to keep you alive. But somewhere along the way, the balance was lost. The accelerator got stuck. The brake weakened. And now, even when you desperately need rest, your body won't allow it. This is the story of so many sleepless nights. Not a failure of willpower, not a character flaw, but a nervous system caught in a pattern it learned long ago, a pattern that once kept you safe, but now keeps you awake. And to understand why this pattern is so hard to break, we need to explore what happens in your brain when it forgets how to power down, when the natural transition from wakefulness to sleep becomes disrupted, leaving you stranded in a state that feels like neither.
Chapter 3. When your brain forgets how to power down. Sleep is not something you do, it's something you allow. But anxiety has taught your brain to stay vigilant, to watch, to wait. Tonight, we'll explore what happens when your brain loses its ability to transition from wakefulness to rest, and why trying harder only makes it worse. Think of sleep as a doorway. On one side, there's wakefulness, the bright, active, thinking part of your day. On the other side, there's sleep, the deep, quiet, restorative state your body needs. Most people walk through this doorway naturally, almost effortlessly. The transition happens so smoothly they barely notice it. One moment they're awake, the next they're drifting, and then they're asleep. But for you, the doorway has become difficult to find, or perhaps you find it, but you can't walk through. You stand at the threshold, exhausted, desperate to cross, but something holds you back. You try harder, you push, you force yourself towards sleep, and the doorway moves further away. This is what happens when your brain forgets how to power down, when the natural transition from wakefulness to sleep becomes disrupted, when effort, the very thing you think will help, becomes the obstacle. Let's understand what sleep actually is. Sleep is not the opposite of wakefulness. It's not simply your brain turning off, like flipping a light switch. Sleep is an active process, a carefully orchestrated transition involving multiple brain regions, chemical signals, and neural networks shifting into different states. Your brain doesn't shut down when you sleep. It changes modes. It moves from one kind of activity to another, from the fast, alert, problem-solving state of wakefulness to the slow, rhythmic, restorative state of sleep. And this transition requires something crucial: letting go. You cannot force yourself to sleep. You cannot decide to sleep the way you decide to stand up or raise your hand. Sleep happens when you stop trying, when you surrender, when you allow your brain to release its grip on wakefulness and drift into the vulnerability of rest. But anxiety makes this surrender feel impossible, even dangerous. Here's what anxiety does to your brain's sleep system. In a healthy brain, as the day progresses, certain signals build up that promote sleepiness. Adenosine accumulates. Melatonin begins to rise as darkness falls. Your body temperature drops slightly. Your brain waves slow. These signals work together to create what's called sleep pressure, the gentle, growing need for rest that eventually becomes irresistible. At the same time, the systems that keep you alert and awake begin to quiet down. The arousal centers in your brain, the parts that keep you vigilant, focused, ready to respond, gradually reduce their activity. This is the natural transition: wakefulness fading, sleep pressure building, until finally you cross the threshold. But when anxiety is present, this process is disrupted. The arousal centers in your brain, particularly an area called the locus coeruleus, which releases a chemical called norepinephrine, stay active. They refuse to quiet down. Norepinephrine is the chemical of alertness, of vigilance, of staying ready. And when your brain keeps releasing it, even as sleep pressure builds, you become stuck in a state of paradox. Your body wants to sleep, but your brain insists on staying awake. There's another part of your brain that plays a crucial role here: the prefrontal cortex. This is the thinking, planning, problem-solving part of your brain, the part that analyzes, decides, worries about tomorrow. In a natural sleep transition, the prefrontal cortex gradually quiets. Its activity decreases. It stops trying to control, to solve, to manage. This quieting is essential because sleep requires a release of conscious control, a willingness to stop thinking, stop planning, stop monitoring. But anxiety keeps the prefrontal cortex engaged. It keeps you thinking, analyzing, reviewing the day, predicting tomorrow, searching for problems, for dangers, for things you might have forgotten. And as long as your prefrontal cortex is active, as long as you're still thinking, you cannot fully transition into sleep. This is why lying in bed and thinking about how to fall asleep doesn't work, because thinking itself is the problem. The act of trying to solve the problem of sleeplessness keeps you in the very state you're trying to escape.
Let's talk about what happens when you try harder to sleep. You tell yourself, "I need to sleep. I have to sleep. If I don't sleep tonight, tomorrow will be terrible." This thought creates pressure, urgency, a sense of threat. And what does threat do? It activates your sympathetic nervous system. It releases stress hormones. It engages the very arousal centers you're trying to quiet. So now, on top of the anxiety that was already keeping you awake, you've added performance anxiety about sleep itself. You're monitoring yourself, checking, am I falling asleep yet? Is it working? Why isn't it working? Each time you check, you pull yourself back toward wakefulness, like someone trying to fall asleep but constantly opening their eyes to see if they're asleep yet. This is called sleep effort, and it's one of the most common patterns in chronic insomnia. The harder you try, the more awake you become. The more you monitor, the further sleep retreats. Because sleep is not a goal to achieve, it's a state to allow. And allowing requires trust, patience, the willingness to stop trying. Breathe with me for a moment. In through your nose, soft and slow. Out through your mouth. Let it be effortless. Notice what happens when you stop trying to control your breath, when you simply let it move through you, without forcing, without managing. It continues, naturally, easily. This is the essence of sleep. Not doing, but allowing. Not controlling, but surrendering. But your brain, trained by anxiety, has forgotten this. It's learned to stay in control, to stay vigilant, to never fully let go. And unlearning this pattern takes time. It takes patience. It takes countless small moments of practicing surrender, of releasing effort, of trusting that rest will come when you stop chasing it. So, when you lie awake, frustrated that sleep won't come, understand this. Your brain hasn't broken. It hasn't forgotten how to sleep permanently. It's simply learned a different pattern, a pattern of vigilance, of effort, of staying alert even when exhausted. This pattern was created for a reason, maybe to protect you during difficult times, maybe to help you survive periods of genuine stress or danger. But now that pattern has outlived its usefulness. It's keeping you awake when you desperately need rest. It's making the natural transition to sleep feel impossible. And the way back to sleep is not through more effort, not through trying harder, not through forcing yourself to relax. The way back is through understanding, through gentle, patient retraining of your nervous system, through learning to recognize the difference between real danger and the echo of old fears, and through recognizing that sometimes the very thing keeping you awake isn't just your thoughts or your worries, it's the invisible chemistry moving through your blood, the molecules that govern when you wake and when you sleep, and how anxiety disrupts their delicate dance.
Chapter 4. The Chemistry of Sleepless Nights. Cortisol rises when it should fall. Melatonin struggles to arrive. Adenosine builds but cannot land. Your sleep is governed by invisible molecules dancing out of rhythm. Let's trace these chemical messengers and understand why your body's sleep signals have gone quiet. Picture your body as a nighttime city. The streetlights should dim as evening arrives. The traffic should slow. The noise should fade into silence. Everything coordinated, timed perfectly, following an ancient rhythm that knows when day ends and night begins. But in your body tonight, the city refuses to sleep. Some lights blaze when they should be dark. Traffic still rushes through your veins. The noise inside you, chemical, constant, urgent, refuses to quiet. This isn't chaos. This is chemistry. Invisible molecules moving through you like messengers, carrying news your body can no longer understand. Tonight, we trace these messengers. We follow them through your bloodstream, and we discover why the signals that once whispered sleep have fallen silent. Let's begin with a molecule called adenosine, the tiredness you've been collecting all day. Imagine adenosine as tiny weights added one by one to a scale. Every thought you think adds a weight. Every task you complete, every decision you make, every moment your neurons fire, another weight drops onto the scale. As the hours pass, the scale tips heavier and heavier. This is sleep pressure, the physical accumulation of your wakefulness, building like debt your body will eventually demand you pay. By nightfall, the scale should be so heavy that sleep becomes unavoidable. Your eyelids should droop, your thoughts should blur. Rest should feel not like a choice, but like gravity pulling you down. But here's what anxiety does. It locks the scale in place. The weights keep piling on. You feel their heaviness, you carry their burden, but the mechanism that translates weight into sleep has jammed. Adenosine is screaming rest now, but nothing is listening. The message reaches your brain and stops there, unable to complete its journey into actual sleep. You are tired, measurably, chemically, undeniably tired. But tired and sleeping are not the same thing. and the gap between them has grown too wide to cross. Now, meet melatonin, the molecule that should arrive like dusk. In a peaceful nervous system, as daylight fades, your pineal gland, a tiny structure buried deep in your brain, begins its nightly ritual. It releases melatonin, drop by drop, into your bloodstream. Melatonin is not sleep itself, it's the announcement of sleep. The dimming of lights before the show begins, the gentle nudge that tells every cell in your body, evening is here, prepare to rest. Think of melatonin as an invitation, elegantly written, delivered at the perfect time. But anxiety tears up the invitation before it's even sent. When your stress hormones are high, when your nervous system is taut with vigilance, melatonin production falters. The pineal gland hesitates, the signal weakens, and even if melatonin does arrive, it arrives late, like a guest showing up to a party that's already ending, awkward and out of rhythm. Or it arrives too weak to matter, drowned out by louder chemical voices shouting, "Stay awake, stay ready, stay afraid." This is why darkness alone cannot save you. You can lie in perfect blackness, curtains drawn, screens off, and still feel wide awake. Because melatonin needs more than darkness. It needs permission, safety, the felt sense that night is not a threat. And anxiety refuses to give that permission. Then there's cortisol, the chemical that refuses to leave. Cortisol is meant to rise with the sun. It's your morning alarm, your biological caffeine, the surge of energy that says, "Wake up, there's a day to meet." And then, as evening comes, cortisol should bow out gracefully. It should decline, fade, retreat like the tide pulling back from shore.
This decline is essential. It's the signal that tells your body the day is done, the demands are over, you can stop preparing now. But in anxious bodies, cortisol doesn't leave. It lingers like an unwelcome guest who won't take the hint. It stays elevated into the evening, sometimes even spiking in the middle of the night as if a new emergency has arrived. This isn't random. Cortisol rises in response to perceived threat. And when your mind is racing with worry, when your nervous system is scanning for danger, cortisol interprets this as a reason to stay. So it does. It keeps you activated. It keeps your heart rate up. It keeps your muscles tense. It tells your body, not yet, not safe, not time to rest. And in doing so, it suppresses melatonin further, blocks adenosine's message, and keeps the entire system in a state of readiness that has nowhere to go. Finally, there's GABA, the molecule that should quiet everything. GABA is your brain's volume knob turned down. It's the chemical that slows neural firing, that softens the electrical storm of wakefulness, that allows thoughts to fade rather than multiply. When GABA is flowing properly, your mind can settle. The racing stops. The spinning slows. The transition from thinking to not thinking becomes possible. But chronic anxiety depletes GABA, or more accurately, it overwhelms it. Imagine GABA as a small voice trying to whisper, "Be still," in a room full of people shouting. The voice is there, the message is real, but it cannot be heard over the noise. Your brain keeps firing, your thoughts keep coming. The arousal systems, louder, stronger, more insistent, dominate the conversation. And without GABA's calming influence, your mind becomes a city that never sleeps. Lights always on, traffic always moving, no rest, no quiet, no peace. Breathe with me, slowly, just for now. In through your nose, imagine calling those molecules back into balance. Out through your mouth, imagine releasing what no longer serves. You cannot think your chemistry into alignment, but you can send signals, breath by breath, moment by moment. So here's the truth of your sleepless nights. Your body has not forgotten how to sleep. The molecules are still there. The systems still exist, but they're speaking a language your nervous system no longer understands. Adenosine shouts, but is ignored. Melatonin whispers, but arrives too late. Cortisol refuses to leave. GABA cannot be heard. This is not failure. This is dysregulation. A once coordinated system now moving out of sync, each chemical doing its job, but no longer in harmony with the others. And the exhaustion you feel is the cost of this dissonance. A body ready for rest, trapped in a chemistry that insists on wakefulness. But chemistry is not destiny. Rhythms can be restored. And sometimes understanding what's happening in your blood helps you understand what's happening in your mind. Particularly why, the moment your head touches the pillow, every thought you avoided all day suddenly demands your attention.
Chapter 5. The Racing Mind at Bedtime. The moment your head touches the pillow, your thoughts come alive. Worries you ignored all day suddenly demand attention. Your mind reviews, replays, predicts. This is not random. This is your brain trying to process what it couldn't during the day. Let's understand why nighttime awakens thought. All day you've been moving, task to task, conversation to conversation, screen to screen. Your attention pulled in 100 directions, never quite settling, never quite still. The worries were there, hovering at the edges. The unresolved conversations, the decisions you haven't made, the fears about tomorrow. But you pushed them aside. Not now, later. I don't have time for this. And they waited, patiently, quietly, like guests standing outside a locked door. But then night arrives. You lie down. The world goes silent. The distractions fade. And suddenly, the door opens. Every thought you postponed comes flooding in. The worry about work, the conversation you keep replaying, the thing you forgot to do, the fear that won't name itself but sits heavy in your chest. Your mind, which should be winding down, is instead winding up, spinning, racing, refusing to rest. And you wonder, why now? Why, when I finally have the chance to sleep, does my mind become so loud? Here's what you need to understand. This is not your mind sabotaging you. This is your brain doing exactly what it was designed to do. Processing, integrating, making sense of the day you just lived. During waking hours, your brain operates in task mode. It's focused outward, on the world around you, the problems you need to solve, the people you need to respond to. There's little space for deeper processing, for sitting with uncomfortable emotions, for actually thinking through the things that matter most. So your brain creates a backlog, a mental list of unfinished emotional business, things that need attention but didn't get it, feelings that need to be felt but were pushed away. And when does your brain try to clear this backlog? At night, when you finally stop, when the external demands quiet down, when there's space. This is why your thoughts come alive at bedtime, not because your mind is broken, but because it's finally trying to do the work you didn't have time for during the day. There's a network in your brain called the Default Mode Network, or DMN. This network activates when you're not focused on external tasks, when you're daydreaming, reflecting, mind-wandering, just being. The DMN is where your brain does its integrative work. It connects memories. It processes emotions. It makes meaning from experiences. It thinks about yourself, your relationships, your future. During the day, when you're busy, other networks dominate. Task-focused networks, problem-solving networks, attention networks. But at night, when you lie down and close your eyes, those networks begin to quiet, and the default mode network comes alive.
Your brain shifts from external focus to internal focus, from doing to processing, from action to reflection. And if there's unprocessed material from the day, worries, conflicts, emotions you didn't have time to fully feel, the DMN brings them forward, not to torment you, but to complete what was left unfinished. Let's talk specifically about worry. Worry is your brain's attempt to prepare for uncertainty, to anticipate problems, to plan for what might go wrong, to gain a sense of control over the uncontrollable. During the day, you can sometimes push worry aside. You're too busy, too distracted. The external world demands your attention. But at night, there are no distractions, no tasks to occupy your mind, just you and the dark and the silence. And worry, which has been waiting all day, finally gets your full attention. It arrives with force. What if this happens? What if that goes wrong? What if I'm not ready? Your mind runs scenarios, replays conversations, searching for mistakes. Did I say the wrong thing? Did they misunderstand? Are they upset with me? It reviews decisions, questioning your choices. Should I have done that differently? What if I regret this? What if there was a better option? Your brain believes this mental work is productive, that by thinking through every possibility, every angle, every potential problem, it's helping you. But worry at night rarely leads to solutions. It leads to more worry. Because in the quiet, in the dark, with no external feedback, your mind has nothing to anchor to except its own fears. There's another reason thoughts intensify at night. Your prefrontal cortex begins to weaken. The prefrontal cortex is the rational, logical part of your brain, the part that provides perspective, that can step back and say, this worry isn't realistic, things will probably be fine, I don't need to solve this right now. During the day, even when you're anxious, your prefrontal cortex offers some regulation, some ability to put worries in context. But as you become tired, as the day wears on, the prefrontal cortex fatigues. Its ability to regulate emotion decreases. Meanwhile, your emotional centers of your brain, particularly the amygdala, remain active. So now you have strong emotions and less ability to manage them. The balance shifts. The worries feel bigger, more urgent, more real. This is why things that seemed manageable at noon feel overwhelming at midnight. Not because the problems changed, but because your brain's capacity to regulate your response has temporarily diminished. Breathe with me now. Let's give your prefrontal cortex a moment to re-engage. In through your nose, slow and steady. Out through your mouth, gentle and complete. As you breathe, imagine your thoughts as birds flying across the evening sky, each one real, each one present, but none of them permanent, none of them solid. You don't have to catch them, you don't have to follow them, you can simply watch them pass. So when your mind races at bedtime, understand this. Your brain is not attacking you, it's trying to help, it's trying to process the day, to prepare for tomorrow, to protect you from uncertainty. But the method it's using, rumination, worry, endless mental rehearsal, isn't actually helpful. It doesn't solve problems, it doesn't reduce anxiety, it only keeps you awake. And the more you engage with the thoughts, the more you try to think your way through them, the more activated your brain becomes. Because thinking is mental activity. And mental activity is the opposite of what you need for sleep. Sleep requires release, letting go, a willingness to stop processing, stop analyzing, stop trying to control. But your brain, loyal and protective, doesn't trust that it's safe to stop thinking, stop worrying, stop preparing. Something bad will happen.
There's a term for this in sleep science, cognitive arousal. It's the state of having a mentally active mind when your body is trying to rest. and it's one of the strongest predictors of insomnia. Cognitive arousal isn't about how busy your day was. It's about how much unresolved mental and emotional content you're carrying. The more unprocessed worry, the more unaddressed conflict, the more uncertainty you're holding, the louder your mind becomes at night. Because your brain sees nighttime as its opportunity to finally work through all of this, to sort it, to make sense of it. But without the structure of the day, without external anchors, this processing becomes overwhelming, chaotic, endless, and sleep, which requires a quiet mind, becomes impossible. So what does your racing mind need? Not more thinking, not more analyzing, not solutions to every worry that surfaces. It needs acknowledgement. It needs to be heard without being engaged. It needs you to say, "I see you. I know you're trying to help, but we don't need to do this right now." It needs space during the day to process, so it doesn't have to do all the work at night. It needs you to set aside time, even just 10 minutes, to deliberately think through what's bothering you, to journal, to talk, to feel the emotions you've been postponing. Because when you give your brain space to process during the day, it doesn't need to hijack your bedtime to do it. And it needs something else, too, something deeper, something your racing thoughts are actually pointing toward. Because sometimes the real reason you can't sleep isn't just the thoughts themselves, it's what those thoughts are protecting you from feeling. The vulnerability of darkness, the ancient fear that nighttime itself is not safe.
Chapter 6. Your body's ancient fear of darkness.
Long ago, nighttime meant vulnerability. Predators hunted in shadow. Safety required vigilance. Though the world has changed, your nervous system remembers. Sometimes your inability to sleep is an echo of ancient survival, your body refusing rest because some part of you still doesn't feel safe in the dark. Imagine your ancestors, thousands of generations ago, as the sun began to set. Daylight offered visibility, distance, the ability to see threats approaching from far away, time to prepare, time to run. But night brought something different: darkness, uncertainty, the erasure of distance, and the arrival of danger you couldn't see until it was too close. In that world, sleep was a calculated risk, a necessary vulnerability that could not be avoided but had to be managed carefully. And those who survived were not the deepest sleepers. They were the light sleepers, the vigilant ones, the ones who woke at the smallest sound, whose bodies never fully surrendered to unconsciousness. Your body carries that inheritance still, even though you live in a world with walls and locks, with light switches within arm's reach, with no predators lurking beyond your window. Some ancient part of your nervous system doesn't know that, and when darkness falls, that part remembers what nighttime once meant: vulnerability. Let's travel back for a moment. Let's understand what your ancestors faced when the sun disappeared. During the day, humans had advantages: vision, the ability to see clearly, to coordinate as a group, to move safely through terrain. But at night, those advantages vanished. Many predators had superior night vision: cats with eyes designed for darkness, wolves that hunted in shadow, creatures that waited for the cover of night to hunt. The darkness didn't just hide predators, it hid the ground itself: a misplaced step, a hidden cliff edge, a snake coiled on the path. Sleep was necessary. The body needed rest to function, to heal, to have energy for the next day's survival. But sleep also meant unconsciousness. It meant losing awareness. It meant becoming prey. So evolution found a compromise. Humans developed the ability to sleep, but not too deeply, to rest but remain partially aware, to wake quickly at the slightest disturbance. And critically, humans learned to sleep in groups. Safety came not from individual vigilance, but from collective protection. While some slept deeply, others remained alert. They took turns. They watched over each other. This is why, even now, you often sleep better when someone you trust is nearby, when you're not alone in the darkness. Because your nervous system still operates on that ancient logic. Vulnerability is safer when shared. But in the modern world, many of us sleep alone, in separate rooms, in quiet houses where no one else is awake. And your nervous system notices this. It registers the isolation, the solitude, the fact that there are no other watchful eyes to share the burden of vigilance. And it whispers, "It's not safe. Stay alert. Don't let go completely." This isn't a conscious thought. You don't lie in bed thinking a predator might attack. But the feeling is there, the unease, the sense that something isn't quite right, that you shouldn't fully relax, that letting your guard down would be dangerous. Your rational mind knows you're safe, but your nervous system operates on older information, on patterns learned across millennia, and those patterns say nighttime plus aloneness equals danger. There's a specific system in your brain that monitors safety in relation to connection. It's connected to the polyvagal theory, the understanding that your nervous system has different states depending on how safe it feels. When this system detects that you're safe, that you're with others, that you're protected, that the environment is secure, it allows your body to relax, to shift into rest mode. But when it detects isolation, unpredictability, or threat, it keeps your body activated, just in case. This is why children sleep better when a parent is nearby, why a partner's presence can make rest feel more accessible, why some people can fall asleep easily on an airplane surrounded by strangers, but struggle alone in their own bedroom. It's not weakness, it's an ancient survival mechanism that says safety is a collective experience, not an individual achievement.
Now, let's talk about darkness itself. Darkness should signal rest. That's how the circadian rhythm works. As light fades, melatonin rises, telling your body it's time to sleep. But for some nervous systems, darkness doesn't feel like an invitation to rest. It feels like a threat. Not because of rational fear, not because you believe something will actually harm you, but because darkness removes information. You can't see what's around you. You can't monitor your environment. You lose control over awareness. And for a nervous system already on high alert, already scanning for danger, this loss of control is intolerable. So it keeps you awake. It keeps your senses engaged. It keeps you listening for sounds, watching for shadows, monitoring the feeling of being exposed in the dark. This is particularly true if you've ever experienced something frightening at night. If nighttime has ever been associated with feeling unsafe, unprotected, or alone when you needed help. Because your nervous system stores these associations, not as stories, not as conscious memories, but as patterns, as feelings, as bodily responses that activate automatically when similar conditions arise. Breathe with me now. Let's speak to that ancient fear just for a moment. In through your nose, feel the breath entering, cool, steady, present. Out through your mouth, long and soft, releasing. Imagine as you breathe that you're surrounded by warmth, by presence, by protection that exists even when you can't see it. You are not alone in the evolutionary sense. You carry with you the strength of everyone who survived the darkness before you. Their resilience lives in your cells. You are safe, in this moment, in this breath. So, when you lie awake at night, when your body refuses to sleep despite your exhaustion, consider this. Your inability to rest might not be about the thoughts racing through your mind or the stress of your day. It might be about something older, deeper, more primal. It might be your nervous system still operating on ancient programming, still scanning for predators that no longer exist, still refusing to surrender to the vulnerability of sleep because it doesn't yet believe it's safe.
This doesn't mean you're broken. It means you're human. It means your body is trying to protect you the way it protected your ancestors, by staying alert when darkness falls. But here's the truth your nervous system hasn't learned yet. The world has changed. The threats are different now, and the vigilance that once saved lives now only steals sleep. The darkness is not full of predators. The night is not the enemy. Rest is not a risk you can't afford to take. But convincing your body of this requires more than logic. It requires experience. Repeated experiences of lying down in the dark and waking up safe, of letting go and discovering that nothing bad happened. And even when you begin to feel safer, even when your body starts to trust the night, something else can pull you back into wakefulness. The worry about sleep itself, the fear that creates the very problem it's afraid of.
Chapter 7. The Cycle That Feeds Itself. You can't sleep, so you worry about not sleeping. That worry keeps you awake. The next night, you fear it will happen again, and that fear ensures it does. This is the insomnia loop, where anxiety about sleep becomes the very thing preventing it. Tonight, we'll watch this cycle with gentle understanding. It started with one difficult night. Maybe stress kept you awake. Maybe illness disrupted your rest. Maybe worry about something real and valid made sleep impossible. Whatever the cause, you woke the next morning tired, foggy, a little off balance. But it was just one night, and you told yourself, tonight will be better. Tonight I'll sleep. Except when night came, something new was present, a thought you hadn't had before. What if I can't sleep again? And that single thought changed everything. Because now you weren't just lying down to rest. You were lying down with expectation, with fear, with a question that had no answer until morning came. Will I sleep tonight, or will it happen again? And the moment you asked that question, the cycle began. The loop that would repeat itself night after night until worry about sleep became more powerful than sleep itself. Let's trace how this cycle unfolds. The first night of poor sleep is often situational, stress, a change in routine, something temporary that disrupts your normal pattern. But the second night you bring something new to bed, anticipatory anxiety. You're no longer just trying to sleep, you're trying not to repeat last night's experience. You're watching yourself, monitoring. Am I falling asleep yet? How long has it been? Is this taking too long? And monitoring is the opposite of surrendering. Checking is the opposite of letting go. So sleep, which requires release, moves further away. Now you've had 2 difficult nights, and a pattern begins to form. Your brain, excellent at detecting patterns, starts to predict, this might keep happening, this might be a problem. The third night, the anxiety is stronger. You might even dread going to bed. You might delay it, hoping that if you're tired enough, sleep will be unavoidable. But exhaustion alone cannot override vigilance, and the fear of sleeplessness is now actively keeping you awake. This is how temporary insomnia becomes chronic, not because the original problem persists, but because worry about sleep becomes the new problem. There's a name for this in sleep medicine, psychophysiological insomnia. It means your insomnia is no longer caused by external factors. It's maintained by your own psychological and physiological responses to the idea of not sleeping. Your body has learned to associate bed with struggle, with frustration, with wakefulness. Instead of your bed being a cue for rest, it becomes a cue for arousal, for activation, for the stress response. Your heart rate increases as you climb into bed, not because of what you're doing, but because of what you're anticipating. Your breathing quickens, your muscles tense. This is classical conditioning. The same process that taught Pavlov's dogs to salivate at a bell has taught your nervous system to activate at the sight of your own bedroom.
And once this association forms, it reinforces itself. Every difficult night strengthens the connection. Every night you lie awake worrying makes the pattern more automatic, more ingrained. Let's look at the thoughts that fuel this cycle. I have to sleep tonight. If I don't sleep, tomorrow will be terrible. This thought creates urgency, pressure, a sense that sleep is not just something you need, but something you must achieve or face consequences. And what happens when something feels urgent? When failure has stakes? When pressure builds? Your sympathetic nervous system activates, stress hormones release, your body shifts into the very state that makes sleep impossible. So now you're lying in bed, exhausted, with your nervous system in fight or flight mode, tired and wired simultaneously. Another thought arrives. It's been an hour. I should be asleep by now. Something is really wrong with me. Now frustration enters, maybe anger at yourself, maybe despair that this will never change. And these emotions, frustration, anger, despair, are all activating. They engage the emotional centers of your brain. They trigger arousal. They pull you further from sleep. You check the clock. It's 2 a.m. If I fall asleep now, I'll only get 4 hours. That's not enough. Tomorrow is ruined already. Mental math, calculating, planning how you'll cope tomorrow on minimal rest, anticipating how exhausted you'll be. All of this is mental activity, and mental activity is incompatible with sleep. But here's what makes this cycle particularly cruel. The more you care about sleeping, the harder it becomes. If you could somehow not care, if you could lie in bed thinking, I don't mind whether I sleep or not, your nervous system would relax, the pressure would dissolve. Sleep might actually come. But you can't not care, because you're exhausted, because you need rest, because you're worried about functioning tomorrow.
The stakes feel too high. The need feels too urgent, and so the cycle continues. Your need for sleep creates anxiety. That anxiety prevents sleep. The lack of sleep intensifies the need, which increases the anxiety. Round and round, night after night, each rotation digging the pattern deeper. Breathe with me now. Let's step outside the cycle, just for this moment. In through your nose. Let the breath be effortless. Out through your mouth. No goal, no trying, just allowing. Notice what it feels like to breathe without needing the breath to accomplish anything, without monitoring whether you're doing it right. This is what sleep needs. Not effort, not vigilance, just allowing, just trust. There's another dimension to this cycle. Safety signals become threat signals. In healthy sleep, certain cues tell your nervous system it's time to rest. The bed, the pillow, the darkness, your evening routine. These cues say, this is the place where we sleep. This is safe. You can let go here. But in the insomnia loop, these same cues become associated with struggle, with the anxiety of sleeplessness, with frustration and failure. So the bed, which should signal rest, now signals threat. You see your pillow and your body tenses. You turn off the lights and your mind starts racing. You lie down and anxiety arrives before you've even closed your eyes. The signals have reversed. What should bring calm now brings stress. And your nervous system, responding to these signals, prepares not for rest, but for battle, for another long night, for more struggle. So when you're caught in this cycle, understand, you're not failing at sleep. You're not weak. You're not doing something wrong. You're experiencing a feedback loop, a pattern your nervous system learned through repetition. The worry about not sleeping creates the physiological state that prevents sleep. The prevention reinforces the worry, and the cycle perpetuates itself, growing stronger each time it repeats. But here's what you need to know.
Cycles can be interrupted. Patterns can be unlearned. Not through more effort, not through trying harder, but through gently, patiently changing the associations, through breaking the connection between bed and stress, through teaching your nervous system that rest is possible again. This takes time, it takes consistency, and it begins with understanding that sometimes the real barrier to sleep isn't exhaustion or chemistry or racing thoughts. Sometimes it's that deep down, some part of you has learned that letting go feels dangerous, that rest itself has become a threat your body refuses to accept.
Chapter 8. When Rest Feels Dangerous. For some, sleep feels like surrender, like losing control, like vulnerability. If your nervous system has learned that letting your guard down is unsafe, it will resist rest with everything it has. Let's explore why relaxation can feel threatening and what your body needs to feel safe enough to sleep. There's a kind of insomnia that isn't about racing thoughts or disrupted chemistry or learned associations. It's deeper than that, more primal, more difficult to name. It's the insomnia that comes when rest itself feels like a threat, when relaxation triggers alarm, when the very act of letting go feels dangerous to a nervous system that has learned through painful experience that vulnerability is not safe. For some people, sleep is easy, natural, a doorway they walk through without resistance, trusting that morning will come and they'll be fine. But for others, sleep feels like falling, like losing grip on something essential, like surrendering control in a world that has taught them control is the only thing keeping them safe. And so their body refuses, not consciously, not deliberately, but with a deep, wordless resistance that says, I cannot let go, not here, not now, maybe not ever. Tonight, we explore this fear, this ancient protective refusal to rest. Let's start with what sleep actually requires from you, from the perspective of survival. Sleep is a state of profound vulnerability. When you sleep, you lose conscious awareness. You stop monitoring your surroundings. You cannot respond quickly to threats. You are, in the most fundamental sense, defenseless. For most people, this vulnerability feels acceptable. Their nervous system has learned through countless experiences that sleep is safe, that nothing bad happens when they let go, that they can trust the world to hold them while they rest. But if your nervous system has learned something different, if it has learned through experience that vulnerability leads to harm, then sleep becomes terrifying. Not in a way you can articulate, not in a way you can reason with, but in the body, in the deep automatic responses that govern whether rest feels possible or dangerous. This pattern often begins early, sometimes in childhood. Imagine a child who learns that nighttime is when frightening things happen, when parents fight, when chaos erupts, when no one comes if they cry. Or a child who must stay alert to sense a parent's mood, to detect danger, to protect themselves or someone they love. That child's nervous system learns a fundamental equation. Vigilance equals survival. Relaxation equals risk. And even when that child grows up, even when circumstances change, even when they're finally somewhere objectively safe, the nervous system still operates on that old programming. It still believes that letting go means danger, that rest means something bad will happen, that sleep is a luxury they cannot afford. This isn't a conscious belief. It's not something you can talk yourself out of. It's encoded in the autonomic nervous system, in patterns of activation that formed long before you had words to describe them. Let's talk about what happens when you try to relax, but your body resists. You lie down, you close your eyes, you try to soften,
to release the tension, to invite rest. And instead of softening, you feel a surge, a spike of anxiety that seems to come from nowhere, a sudden alertness that feels like alarm. Your heart rate increases, your breath quickens, your muscles tighten further. It's as if your body is screaming, "No, not this, stay alert, this is dangerous." But nothing external has changed. You're in a safe place, the room is quiet, there's no actual threat. So why does relaxation feel like danger? Because to your nervous system, relaxation means you're not watching anymore, you're not monitoring, you're not ready. And if you're not ready, something bad might happen, just like it did before, just like it might again. This is called hypervigilance, and it's one of the core features of trauma responses and chronic anxiety. Your nervous system becomes stuck in a state of constant watchfulness. It cannot downregulate. It cannot shift into the mode that allows rest. And when you try to force it, when you try to relax through willpower or breathing or positive thinking, it resists even harder. Because force feels like threat, and threat activates the very systems you're trying to calm.
There's another layer to this: the fear of losing control. For some people, control is how they manage anxiety, how they create safety in a world that feels unpredictable and overwhelming. They control their environment, their schedule, their thoughts, their responses to everything. And as long as they maintain control, they can keep anxiety at bay. They can function. They can move through life. But sleep requires releasing control. It requires surrendering to an unconscious state where you're no longer managing anything. And for someone whose safety has always depended on control, that surrender feels impossible, intolerable, like stepping off a cliff with no certainty there's ground below. So they stay awake, not because they're not tired, but because wakefulness means control, and control, however exhausting, feels safer than the vulnerability of sleep. Breathe with me now. Not to relax, not to fix anything, just to be present with whatever you're feeling. In through your nose, notice the sensation without trying to change it. Out through your mouth, let it be exactly as it is. If there's resistance, acknowledge it. If there's tension, let it stay. You don't have to force anything to soften. Sometimes safety comes not from trying to relax, but from allowing yourself to feel exactly as tense as you actually are. So what does a nervous system need to feel safe enough to sleep? It needs evidence, not logical arguments, not reassurance in words, but repeated, consistent experiences that say, when I let go, nothing bad happens. When I rest, I'm still safe. When I'm vulnerable, I'm still protected. This evidence accumulates slowly, through many nights where you allow yourself to rest, even poorly, even partially, and wake up okay. Through moments in the day where you practice softening, even for a few seconds, and notice that the world doesn't collapse. Through building a sense of safety not just in your environment, but in your own body, in your ability to notice sensation without needing to control it, to feel emotion without needing to fix it. This is the work of healing hypervigilance, not forcing relaxation, but gently, patiently teaching your nervous system that it's allowed to rest, that vigilance is no longer necessary, that you're somewhere different now, that the patterns that once protected you no longer serve you. There's a therapeutic approach that addresses this directly. It's called somatic therapy, and it works with the body's responses rather than just the mind's thoughts.
because your resistance to rest isn't a cognitive problem, it's a nervous system problem, a physiological pattern that lives in your tissues, in your muscles, in the automatic responses that happen below conscious awareness. And changing it requires working at that level, through gentle movement, through breath, through slowly expanding your capacity to tolerate relaxation without triggering alarm. It's like teaching a frightened animal that the world is safe. You can't tell them with words. You can only show them, gently, repeatedly, until their nervous system begins to believe it. So, if rest feels dangerous to you, if relaxation triggers anxiety, if sleep feels like losing yourself, know this: you are not broken. You are not failing at something that should be simple. Your nervous system is doing exactly what it was trained to do: protect you, keep you safe, keep you ready for danger. It just hasn't learned yet that the danger has passed, that you're somewhere different now, that vigilance, while once necessary, is no longer required for survival. And teaching it this truth takes time, takes patience, takes countless small moments of allowing, of softening, of proving through experience that vulnerability doesn't always lead to harm. But beneath this protective resistance, beneath the hypervigilance and the fear of letting go, there's another exhaustion we haven't fully named yet, the deep, bone-tired weariness that comes not from lack of sleep, but from the invisible work of simply holding yourself together day after day without rest.
Chapter 9. The Hidden Exhaustion Beneath Anxiety.
You're not just tired from lack of sleep. You're tired from the constant vigilance, the mental loops, the tension your body holds all day. This is nervous system fatigue, a deep exhaustion that sleep alone cannot fix. Let's uncover the invisible work your body does that leaves you drained. You wake up tired. This makes sense. You didn't sleep well. But here's what's strange. Even on the rare nights when you do sleep, even when you manage 6 or 7 hours, you still wake up exhausted. The tiredness doesn't match the hours. The fatigue runs deeper than sleep deprivation alone can explain. You might think maybe the quality is poor, maybe I'm not reaching deep sleep. And that's part of it, but there's something else, something happening not just at night, but all day long, every day, for weeks, months, maybe years. An invisible drain on your resources, a constant expenditure of energy that you don't consciously notice, but that leaves you depleted by evening, sometimes by afternoon, sometimes from the moment you wake. This is nervous system fatigue, and it's one of the most overlooked sources of exhaustion in chronic anxiety. Tonight, we explore this hidden tiredness, the weariness that comes not from what you do, but from what your body carries while you do it. Let's start with a simple truth. Vigilance is exhausting. When your nervous system stays in a state of heightened alert, scanning for threats, monitoring your environment, staying ready for danger, it burns energy constantly. Think of it like leaving every light on in a house, even when no one's home. Even when nothing is happening, electricity is being consumed, resources are being used. Your nervous system works the same way. When anxiety is present, your sympathetic nervous system maintains partial activation. Your muscles hold tension. Your heart rate stays slightly elevated. Your breathing remains shallow. Your brain is staying alert, processing, monitoring, preparing. All of this requires fuel, ATP, the cellular energy currency, glucose, oxygen, neurotransmitters that must be produced and recycled, stress hormones that must be synthesized and metabolized. And because this activation is chronic, not a brief response to acute danger, but a constant state lasting hours, days, weeks, the energy expenditure is enormous. You're working even when you're sitting still. You're running even when you're resting. Your body is in motion beneath the surface, invisible but relentless. Let's talk specifically about muscle tension.
When anxiety is present, your muscles tighten. This is preparation, your body getting ready to move quickly, to respond to threat. But in chronic anxiety, this tension never fully releases. Your shoulders stay raised, your jaw stays clenched, your abdomen stays contracted, your hands stay curled, fingers never quite relaxed. You might not even notice it anymore. It's become your baseline, your new normal, the way your body just feels. But holding muscle tension requires continuous contraction, and continuous contraction requires continuous energy. It's like holding a weight in front of you. At first, it's manageable, but hold it for an hour, for a day, for weeks, your muscles scream with exhaustion. This is what your body is doing when it holds chronic tension. It's working constantly to maintain a state of readiness that never gets used, never resolves, never completes its purpose. And by day's end, you're drained, not from physical activity, but from the invisible effort of holding yourself together. Then there's the mental exhaustion.
Anxiety isn't just physical, it's cognitive. Your thinking brain, your prefrontal cortex, working overtime to manage worry, to solve problems that have no solutions, to predict and prepare for every possible outcome. Your mind loops. It replays conversations, searching for mistakes. It anticipates problems, running through scenarios. It monitors your own internal state, constantly checking, am I okay? Am I safe? Is something wrong? This mental activity is draining. Decision-making depletes cognitive resources. Worry exhausts mental capacity. The constant scanning, analyzing, preparing leaves your brain fatigued. By evening, you might feel foggy, unable to concentrate, like your thoughts are moving through thick mud. This isn't laziness. This isn't lack of focus. This is cognitive fatigue, the natural result of your brain working at high intensity all day, not on productive tasks, but on managing anxiety. There's also emotional exhaustion. Anxiety is an emotion, and emotions, particularly difficult ones, require energy to process and regulate. When you feel anxious, you're also working to manage that anxiety, to keep it from overwhelming you, to function despite it, to present yourself as calm, capable, together, even when internally you're struggling. This emotional regulation is invisible labor. No one sees it. No one acknowledges it. Sometimes even you don't recognize how much energy it takes. But it's there, constant, draining. It's the effort of smiling when you're scared, of participating in conversations when your mind is elsewhere, of pretending everything is fine when your nervous system is signaling that it's not. This is called emotional labor, and it's one of the most exhausting aspects of living with anxiety. The constant management, the constant performance, the constant holding of feelings that want to spill out, but can't. Breathe with me now. Let's acknowledge this invisible work you've been doing. In through your nose, gently, without effort. Out through your mouth, softly, releasing. Feel the weight you've been carrying, the vigilance, the tension, the effort of managing, monitoring, holding yourself together. You don't have to fix it right now. Just notice it. Honor it. Acknowledge how hard you've been working, even when it looked like you were just sitting still. Now let's talk about why sleep alone can't fix this exhaustion. Sleep restores many things. It clears waste products from your brain. It consolidates memories. It allows your body to repair tissue and regulate hormones. But sleep cannot undo chronic nervous system activation. It cannot release deeply held muscle tension that's been present for months or years. It cannot reset a vigilance system that's been running without a pause. Because the problem isn't just that you're tired. The problem is that your nervous system is stuck in a state that burns energy faster than rest can replenish it. It's like trying to fill a bathtub while the drain is still open. Water keeps flowing out as fast as you pour it in. For true restoration, you need more than sleep. You need to address the drain itself,
to quiet the nervous system, to release the chronic tension, to reduce the invisible load you're carrying. This requires not just rest at night, but moments throughout the day when your nervous system can actually downregulate, when vigilance can soften, when the constant work can pause, even briefly. There's a concept in psychology called allostatic load. It refers to the cumulative burden of chronic stress on the body. When your stress response activates repeatedly, when recovery periods are insufficient, the wear and tear accumulates. Your body stays in heightened arousal, and over time, this takes a toll. High allostatic load is linked to fatigue, immune dysfunction, cognitive impairment, and numerous other health issues. And the insidious thing about allostatic load is that it builds slowly. You don't notice it accumulating day by day. You just notice eventually that you're exhausted in a way that sleep doesn't touch. This is what happens with chronic anxiety. The constant activation, the persistent vigilance, the ongoing tension, they create an allostatic burden that leaves you depleted at a fundamental level. So when you feel tired all the time, even when you've slept, understand this. You're not imagining it. You're not lazy. You're not weak. You're experiencing the accumulated exhaustion of a nervous system that has been working overtime, often for years, to keep you safe, to manage anxiety, to hold you together. The tiredness you feel is real. It's physiological. It's the natural consequence of invisible work your body has been doing every single day. And healing this exhaustion requires more than just getting enough sleep hours, though sleep is essential. It requires addressing the root cause, the chronic activation, the persistent vigilance, the patterns that keep your nervous system in a state of readiness, even when there's nothing immediate to be ready for. But to address these patterns, you must first understand what they're trying to tell you, because sometimes exhaustion isn't just a symptom to eliminate, but a messenger carrying wisdom about how you've been living and what needs to change.
Chapter 10. The wisdom your body holds in stillness. What if your sleeplessness is trying to tell you something? What if your body is asking you to slow down, to listen, to change something about how you're living? Tonight, we'll explore sleep not as a problem to fix, but as a messenger carrying wisdom you've been too tired to hear. We've spent this journey exploring why you can't sleep, the nervous systems fighting for control, the brain that forgot how to power down, the chemistry dancing out of rhythm, the racing mind at bedtime, the ancient fear of darkness, the cycles that feed themselves, the way rest can feel dangerous, the hidden exhaustion beneath it all. All of these are real. All of these matter. All of these help explain the mechanics of sleeplessness. But tonight, we ask a different question. Not why can't you sleep, but what is your sleeplessness trying to tell you? Because sometimes symptoms aren't just problems to solve. Sometimes they're messages, signals from your body that something needs attention, that something in your life, in your patterns, in how you're moving through the world needs to change. And your inability to sleep might be the loudest way your body knows how to say, stop, listen, something here is not working. Let's start with a simple observation. Your body is wise. It knows things your conscious mind doesn't. It tracks patterns you're not aware of. It notices when you're pushing too hard, carrying too much, ignoring signals that should be honored. And when your body can't get your attention through subtle signals, through mild discomfort, through gentle fatigue, through quiet unease, it speaks louder. It creates symptoms you cannot ignore. Pain that demands rest, illness that forces you to stop, sleeplessness that makes continuing at your current pace impossible. Not to punish you, but to protect you, to force you to pause, to slow down, to pay attention to what you've been avoiding. Your insomnia might be one of those loud signals, a message that says the way you're living is not sustainable. Something has to change. What might your sleeplessness be telling you? Perhaps it's saying you're carrying too much. You need to put something down. Maybe you're overcommitted, overextended, trying to meet everyone's needs while neglecting your own, saying yes when you mean no, giving more than you have to give. And your body, which cannot sustain this pace indefinitely, is refusing to let you rest until you acknowledge the burden. It's as if your nervous system is saying, I cannot allow you to sleep because if I do, you'll wake up tomorrow and do this all over again, and I don't have the resources for that. The sleeplessness becomes a boundary your body enforces when you won't enforce it yourself, a forced pause, a physiological stop sign. Or perhaps your sleeplessness is saying you're not addressing something that needs to be addressed. Maybe there's a relationship that's draining you, a job that's slowly dimming your light, a fear you're avoiding, a grief you haven't processed, a truth you're not speaking. During the day, you can distract yourself, you can stay busy, you can push the uncomfortable feelings aside and focus on tasks, on responsibilities, on other people's needs. But at night, when the world goes quiet, when there's nowhere to hide, those unaddressed things come forward. Your mind races because there's unfinished emotional business. Your body stays tense because there's something it's trying to protect you from or prepare you for. And your inability to sleep becomes the space where all of this finally gets your attention, where the things you've been postponing demand to be felt, to be acknowledged, to be integrated. Sometimes sleeplessness is asking, do you feel safe in your life? Not physically safe necessarily, though that can be part of it, but existentially safe, emotionally safe, relationally safe. Are you living in alignment with who you are? Are you expressing your truth or hiding it? Are you in relationships where you can be vulnerable, or do you have to perform, to manage moods, to walk on eggshells?
Your nervous system knows the answer. And if the answer is no, if you're not truly safe, if some part of your life requires constant vigilance, your body will resist sleep. Because to sleep is to let go of that vigilance. And your nervous system, faithful protector that it is, will not allow you to let go until it believes you're genuinely, deeply safe. The sleeplessness, then, is not the problem. It's the signal that safety is missing somewhere. And until you address that deeper issue, rest will remain elusive. Breathe with me now. Let's create space to listen. In through your nose, slow and deep. Out through your mouth, soft and complete. Ask yourself, gently, without judgment, what is my body trying to tell me? What have I been avoiding? What needs to change? You don't need to answer immediately. Just hold the question. Let it settle. Let your body speak if it's ready. Here's what makes this perspective both challenging and liberating. If your sleeplessness is a message, then healing it isn't just about sleep hygiene or breathing techniques or medication, though those things can help manage symptoms. Healing it requires listening to what the message is, and then courageously making changes in your life that honor what your body is asking for. This might mean setting boundaries you've been afraid to set, saying no to commitments that drain you, leaving situations that harm you, seeking support you've been reluctant to ask for, slowing down when everything in your culture tells you to speed up. It might mean addressing the emotional work you've been postponing, having the difficult conversation, grieving what needs to be grieved, feeling the fear you've been avoiding, speaking the truth you've been holding. These changes are hard. Sometimes they feel impossible. But without them, your sleeplessness may persist, not because your body is broken,
but because the message hasn't been received. There's a concept in holistic medicine called symptom as teacher. The idea that physical symptoms sometimes represent unaddressed emotional, psychological, or spiritual needs. Sleeplessness, in this light, can be understood as your body saying, "I don't feel safe enough to let go. I don't trust that things will be okay if I stop watching. I need you to create conditions where rest is actually possible." And until you create those conditions, until you address the pace, the relationships, the work, the unexpressed emotions, the unmet needs, your body will continue sending the message. Not stubbornly, not to make your life difficult, but because it loves you, because it's trying to guide you toward a way of living that's sustainable, that honors your limits, that allows for genuine rest. This doesn't mean you're to blame for your insomnia. This doesn't mean you've caused it through poor choices or weak boundaries. Life is complex. Circumstances are often beyond your control. And sometimes the conditions that create sleeplessness were shaped by things that happened to you, not choices you made. But what it does mean is this: you have more agency than you might think. Your sleeplessness is not a permanent condition. It's not a life sentence. It's a pattern, a response, a signal. And patterns can change. Responses can shift. Signals can be heard and honored. This requires courage, honesty, a willingness to look at your life and ask, what needs to change? What am I holding that I need to release? What boundary do I need to set? What truth do I need to speak? These are not easy questions. The answers are not always clear, and the changes they require can feel overwhelming. But they are also the path toward genuine healing, toward rest that comes not from pills or techniques, but from a life that finally feels safe enough to allow your body to let go. So as you lie here tonight, perhaps still unable to sleep, consider this. Your sleeplessness is not your enemy. It's not a failure. It's not evidence that you're broken. It's a messenger, a teacher, a signal from the wisest part of you, trying to get your attention, trying to guide you towards something your conscious mind hasn't yet recognized. The question is not how to silence the messenger, but how to listen to the message, and what might become possible if you finally, courageously allow yourself to hear it and respond. And with that understanding, with that willingness to listen, we can begin the gentle journey back to a body that trusts rest, back to a nervous system that knows safety, back to the sleep that has been waiting for you all along.
Chapter 11. The Gentle Path Back to Rest.
You've traveled through the science of sleepless nights. You've met the nervous system, the chemistry, the ancient fears, the loops. Now we return, softer, wiser, with understanding of why rest has felt so far away. And with that understanding comes the possibility, however small, of finally allowing yourself to sleep. We've walked a long journey together tonight, through the paradox of exhausted wakefulness, through the two systems fighting for control inside you, through the brain that forgot how to power down and the chemistry that dances out of rhythm. We've explored the racing mind at bedtime, the ancient fear of darkness that lives in your nervous system, the cycle that feeds itself, making worry about sleep more powerful than sleep itself. We've sat with the truth that for some, rest feels dangerous, that vulnerability has become a threat. We've acknowledged the hidden exhaustion beneath anxiety, the invisible work that drains you even when you're sitting still. And we've listened to the wisdom your body holds in stillness, the messages your sleeplessness has been trying to deliver. Now it's time to come back, to return to this moment, to this breath, to the possibility, however tentative, of rest. Not with force, not with pressure, but with gentleness,
with understanding, with the recognition that healing happens slowly, in small steps, through patience rather than urgency. Let's breathe together one more time, slowly, softly. In through your nose, feel the cool air enter, steady and calm. Out through your mouth, feel the warmth leave, carrying tension with it. Notice where you are right now, the surface beneath you, the temperature of the air against your skin, the sounds around you, near or distant. You are here, not in tomorrow's worries, not in yesterday's regrets, just here, in this single, simple moment. And that is enough. It always has been. Here's what you've learned tonight. Your sleeplessness is not random. It is not meaningless. It is not proof that you're broken. It is your body's intelligent response to conditions it has been living with. Chronic stress, unresolved vigilance, a nervous system that hasn't felt safe enough to fully surrender. The racing heart, the tense muscles, the spinning thoughts, these are not attacks. They are attempts at protection. Your body doing what it was designed to do, keep you safe, keep you ready, keep you vigilant when it believes vigilance is necessary. Understanding this changes everything, because patterns that are learned can be unlearned. Neural pathways that have been strengthened can be rewired. Habits that feel permanent can shift. Not instantly, not through willpower alone, but through gentle, patient, repeated practice. Let's talk about what this practice looks like. In the morning, before your mind begins spinning through the day ahead, take 3 conscious breaths. Notice your body. Notice the present moment. Start your day here, not in the future or the past. Throughout the day, when you notice tension building, pause. Place a hand on your chest or belly. Take a slow breath. Send a signal to your nervous system. We're okay. We can soften, even just a little. In difficult moments, when anxiety rises and rest feels impossible, ground yourself in sensation. Notice 5 things you can see, 4 things you can touch, 3 things you can hear. Bring yourself back to now. In the evening, as you prepare for sleep, release the day, release tomorrow. Create a buffer between the demands of life and the vulnerability of rest. Let your nervous system know this time is different, this time is safe. And when worry returns at night, because it will return many times, don't judge yourself. Don't see it as failure. Simply notice, acknowledge, and gently redirect your attention to breath, to body, to the present moment. Each time you do this, you're teaching, you're rewiring, you're creating new pathways while allowing old ones to gradually fade. Here's what this practice is not. It's not about perfection. You will have difficult nights. You will fall back into old patterns. This is normal. This is part of the process. Healing is not linear. It's not about forcing yourself to relax. You cannot muscle your way into rest. Sleep comes when you stop trying so hard, when you allow rather than achieve. It's not a quick fix. This work takes time, weeks, months, sometimes longer. But every small shift matters. Every moment of presence counts. It's not about eliminating anxiety entirely. The goal is not to never feel anxious again. The goal is to change your relationship with anxiety, to notice it without being consumed by it, to allow it to be present without letting it control whether you rest. Breathe with me again. Let's practice returning, right now. In through your nose. Where is your mind? Is it here, or has it wandered to tomorrow, to what-ifs, to fears about whether this will work? Out through your mouth. Gently call it back. Come home. It's safe here. We can rest now. In again. Notice sensation, the coolness of air, the rise of your chest, the aliveness of this body. Out again. This is where peace lives. Not in the future you're trying to control, but here, in this breath, in this moment. There's something profound that happens when you practice this consistently. At first, returning to the present feels effortful, like you're constantly pulling your attention back from worry, from planning, from the racing thoughts. But gradually, something shifts. The present moment begins to feel less like a place you have to force yourself into and more like a natural place to rest. The worries still arise, the thoughts still come, but they don't have the same grip. They don't consume you the way they once did. You notice them, you acknowledge them, and then you return to now. Not because you have to, but because this is where calm lives. This is where you can actually be alive, actually be present, actually allow rest. This shift doesn't happen overnight. It takes many nights of gentle practice, but it does happen. Because your nervous system is capable of learning. Your body can remember what safety feels like, and the patterns that have held you captive can gradually, patiently release their hold.
So, as we close this journey together, I want you to know this. You will sleep again. Maybe not tonight, maybe not tomorrow night, but the capacity for rest is still within you. It hasn't been lost. It's only been buried beneath layers of activation, vigilance, and learned fear. You are not powerless. You have the ability to notice patterns, to redirect attention, to send signals of safety to your nervous system. Change is possible, and it begins right now, in this moment. You are not alone. Millions of people struggle with sleepless nights. It's one of the most common experiences of suffering, and there is wisdom, compassion, and science to guide you through it. You don't have to do this perfectly. There will be difficult nights, times when rest feels impossible, when you fall back into old patterns. On those nights, be gentle with yourself. The practice is not about perfection, it's about persistence. And most importantly, the present moment is always here, waiting for you. No matter how far your mind has traveled into worry, no matter how lost you feel in exhaustion, you can always return with a single breath, with one moment of noticing, with the gentle recognition, I'm here, right now, and that's enough. If this journey has brought you comfort, if these words have helped you understand yourself even a little better, please stay connected with Soft Light Theory. Subscribe to this channel for more episodes in our series Emotional Healing and Neuroscience, Gentle Ways to Rewire Your Mind. Like this video if it resonated with you. Share it with someone who might be lying awake right now, searching for answers. And leave a comment. Tell us where you're listening from, what time it is, and know that you're not alone in this. More episodes are coming, more gentle explorations of how your mind and body work together, why you feel what you feel, and how healing truly happens. Until next time, may you find your way back to rest, one breath at a time. May you trust in your body's wisdom, and may you know, deeply, that you are worthy of peace, of ease, and of the deep, restorative sleep your body so desperately needs. Good night, and thank you for trusting me with your sleepless hours and your tender, resilient heart.